Hey, friends, this is Joe Pulizzi, and welcome to This Old Marketing, episode 491 for August 1st, 2025. I can't believe the summer is more than half over. Now, this is our last special episode for a while, thankfully, right? Robert and I will be back next week to make nonsense about marketing, content, and whatever else you want to send us to talk about. So that's coming next week. But today's episode, I'm going to do something a little bit different as you're getting used to. By the way, how was Robert's last week? Did you like the mullet content strategy? He's getting some good feedback on it. He did a really good job with that. But let's talk about me. In 1937, Napoleon Hill wrote Think and Grow Rich. His ideas about belief, desire, and persistence changed many lives, including mine. I've read it many, many times. Now, my new book, Burn the Playbook, is my answer to what I believe Think and Grow Rich would look like today. It's not just about financial wealth. It's about freedom, mental freedom, physical health, time freedom. It's the book I wanted my kids to have, the book that they hopefully can share with their kids that talks about living a life of purpose. Now, this episode of This Old Marketing is about how to build a platform strong enough to carry the weight of your dreams. So I know a little bit heavy, but I really believe in this stuff. But let me start here. 6 months ago, I was 20 pounds heavier. I felt foggy, sluggish, reactive. I was still productive, but I didn't feel sharp. I didn't feel like I was operating at my best. And I decided that wasn't okay anymore. Now, many of you know this, but my family has a history of Alzheimer's. And I always thought that I was sort of relegated to this fate and there was nothing I could do about it. I've since found out that there are many things I can do to build a better brain, if you will, so I can live a better life and be around in all forms for my kids and their kids, in addition to living a life of freedom. And that's what we're going to discuss today. So I made some changes, not radical ones. I don't think they're radical. Some people might, but just simple, but more important, consistent ones. And I want to share them with you today, not as a health expert, but as a creator / marketer who realized that if your body and brain break down, your business, the way that you think, your strategic knowledge, your execution doesn't stand a chance against other people that are doing some of these things. So let's get into it. I want to start with this idea that distraction is killing us. If you don't intentionally protect your mind from noise, clickbait, any kind of drama, your goals will absolutely get hijacked. Your brain will be running someone else's agenda. Now, you already know this, but every piece of content you consume is programming you. You know, we talk about this in content marketing all the time. We're trying to change behavior with the content we send consistently over time, but it happens to us too with the content that we engage in. Now, if we look at the data, and I'll put some of these links in the show notes, so I don't have to go through them all, but the average adult checks their phone 144 times a day. By the way, that's the average. We spend over 4 hours on social media per day on average. We lose 23 minutes every time we switch tasks from one thing to another. Now, you don't need to go off grid and totally disconnect, but you do need to be intentional. So here's a few steps that I recommend and I follow. Number one, I think you need to start with auditing what you consume to get this whole thing started. Write down everything you consume daily, apps, podcasts, TV shows, whatever it might be. A few days is sort of enough time, I think, to get an idea of what you're doing. And then once you have your list and you have a feeling on average what you do every day, then you can go back and mark each as keep, cut, or replace. And then you just have to do the work. But what I found is a lot of people don't know how much time they spend in their phone. They don't know how much time they spend on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook. It's funny. I talked to my friend about this a few weeks ago. They're on TikTok a lot, but didn't know the extent. Found out on average 6 hours a day. I'm not kidding you. So it was a shock to both of us. So now that we know, we can do something about it. Number two, delete time sucks that are in your life. If a platform adds anxiety in whatever way, remove it. Now, this was me for Twitter X a while back. I was spending so much time on that app getting into weird conversations, watching unnecessary videos. Now, for me, the best course of action was to quit the app entirely. Yes, I had a good following of 150,000 plus. I think I still do, although what's the point? They're just there. But whatever benefits I received from that app were killing my overall thinking and productivity. Plus Elon Musk, right? Number 3, create before you consume. This can be as simple as one sentence, one idea, one of anything before you get into social and before you get into email. This protects your direction and what you really want to do strategically for the day. And I would just get an old-fashioned notebook, make sure it's out there. Pen and paper is the best way to do it so that you create something before you consume anything. So try something like notifications, except for calls. No phone for the first hour in the morning. Journal for 3 minutes at night. If you want to really push yourself, take one full day this weekend and go phone free. Take a notepad instead, go for a long walk and see where your mind wanders. And once you get a taste of this, you can decide if you really want to get serious about this and then consistently add this type of programming to your new playbook. Okay, so that gives you that level set, that start of what we're working with. Now, you know that you can't build a business on a broken body. It just does not work. So we want some type of creator's operating system. And as part of that, I've become obsessed with brain health and longevity. I read books like The End of Alzheimer's by Dale Bredesen, Outlive by Peter Tia, Super Agers by Eric Topol. And together, not all of it was super helpful, but I took what I thought that was most important specifically to my journey as a creator and a marketer. And it really changed the way that I think about health. And I've done some of these things. I'm going to talk about them. Lost those 20 pounds. I feel really, really good. I'm thinking clear. My memory's better. It's made me hopefully a better father and husband, but a better entrepreneur, because we're talking about business here. And I think it's made me a better creator because I'm more focused and more strategic about what I do. The 3 big things that I did is, number 1, I cut the refined sugar out. As you probably know, sugar inflames the brain. And if we reduce it, our clarity increases. And I've cut anything with sugar and I've limited pasta and bread wherever I can. That doesn't mean that, I still eat sauces and gravies and things where the sugar is added, but I don't go out and get that. Like, I'm not eating desserts. I'm not eating candy. That stuff has really helped. Number 2, I've gotten into something called time-based eating. Some people call it fasting. I call it time-based eating now. And I do this from noon to 8 p.m. So basically, I don't eat anything until at least noon. And then once 8 o'clock hits, I don't eat anything else after that. So just that 8-hour period. Some people would call that 16-8. 16, not eating, 8, eating. And what it does is it triggers something called autophagy. And this is your body's cleanup mode. And by the way, don't worry, those 8 hours, I eat a lot and I try to get as much protein as possible, but your body needs to clean itself up. So if you're doing a late night snack and then you're eating breakfast in the morning, your body never gets a chance to really recharge. And that really, really hurts your brain health. So if you're interested, you could do more work, lots of stuff on that, but I've done that. It's really worked well for me. And then number 3, ditch the boxes. I've come to a place now that if it comes in a box with more than 5 ingredients or a package with more than 5 ingredients, I don't eat it. I stick to whole foods. And I do understand some of you might not be in a financial position to do this because, as we all know, things that are packaged are cheaper. But I want you to think about your future self here. You're doing this for you in 2 years, in 5 years, in 10 years. So what you do today is going to make a big impact on your health span, your longevity, your happiness, the time with your family, the success of your business. It all works together. And for many years, I prioritized the work, the marketing, the content creation, the business model. And in my opinion, I was doing this wrong. I should have focused first on me, my body, my brain, so that I can be there, all of me present in 100% or 100% plus form. And then I can create better outcomes for my content and my marketing career. but I had those flip-flops. So flipping the script, as you would say, made all the difference for me. All right, so now I just want to talk about briefly this idea of neuroplasticity. And I really believe that if you train your brain, you can change your identity. You can change the things that you do or don't do. Your brain is plastic. You can rewire it at any age. Neuroplasticity is basically how good is your brain at adapting to its environment. And you can literally change it to be better and stronger. But it doesn't happen passively. You have to train it. Things that you would do different, like maybe you brush your teeth now with your non-dominant hand, or do that twice a week. Read books from outside your field. Write in a journal. Walk without distractions. It's very similar to when you do weight training and you train different muscles, you really want to surprise things. If you do things over and over and over and over and over again the same way, you're not going to get the benefit. Same thing with your brain. So we want to mix it up a little bit, and you get those neurons firing and making new pathways that you never thought was possible. Now, these micro habits I just talked about, they definitely reduce cognitive decline, and they will absolutely spark new ideas. Now, with that, let's talk about your identity, who you are. I used to say, I'm not a runner anymore. I ran cross country in high school, and then I stopped for 20 years, and I said, I don't run anymore. And I believed it. I wasn't a runner. Then I started running again, slowly, consistently. And now I've run a marathon. I am a runner. My actions rewired my identity. And I remember when I first left the house, the first time I said I'm going running, I was going to run a mile, and I literally collapsed at the half-mile mark. I'm like, geez, I used to run 10 plus miles. What happened to me? I learned that doing the physical part was so much more difficult because I was fighting against my thinking. They both have to work in harmony. So once I changed my thinking to I am a runner, everything changed. And you can do this with anything. And you're an expert marketer, right? You are an incredible content creator. Then you walk the path that your brain sets in front of you. It's very similar to when my wife and I sold the company. I used to read that goal out, and I've talked about it on this podcast, that in 2008, I started writing the goal. My wife and I sold our company in 2015 for at least $15 million. I wrote that down, and I reviewed that all the time, even though in 2008 it was a pipe dream. We were losing money. It was nothing. Content marketing wasn't a thing. But by 2015, that goal was made a reality. I think in large part I just created it into existence, if you will. And you can do that. And once you get your brain firing on that goal, you start to do things consciously and subconsciously to make sure that goal becomes a reality. So I want you to write down your default script. So here's a nice little to-do. What do you usually tell yourself that's negative? Things like you always quit, you don't finish things, you're not built for XYZ. And you rewrite them into things like, I follow through even when it's difficult. I finish when I start. I'm building new habits that serve my future. And you get very specific on the goals you want to accomplish. And you repeat those out loud every morning for at least 30 days. It sounds strange, but it absolutely works. You become what you rehearse. And you do these in the present tense like you've already accomplished it. And this is specifically tied to your goals, your marketing, your creator goals, your personal goals. And I like to use Brian Tracy as an example. I've been a huge fan of Brian Tracy since I first started listening to his tapes in the late 90s. The TLDR from Brian is that what you think about is everything. You are what you think about. So, for example, Brian talks about how you can quickly double your income. And he says, here's the steps. Take a school notebook or an actual paper notebook and write down 10 goals you'd like to accomplish in the next 12 months. You write them in the present tense, like we just talked about, as though they're already a reality. Not I will earn, but I earn. Or if you have a weight goal, you said not I will weigh, I weigh. And you include a due date for each goal, and you earn this. Let's say, for example, I earn this amount. Write that down like it's already happened. And when you write it down, pen to paper, you engage in what Brian calls psychoneural motor activity. That's very long, fancy word. Psychoneural motor activity. And this means that you see it when you're writing it. And by doing the handwriting, you actually program it into the hard drive of your subconscious mind. That's it. That's the exercise. It's that simple. Now you have to do the work. And if you do this for 12 months, and you write down those 10 goals, you will absolutely accomplish 6, 7, or 8 of these goals, and your life will be so incredibly different than it was. And I absolutely trust me on this. It absolutely will work. It's worked for me for many, many years. And funny enough, this is the difference between those who accomplish their goals and those who do not. Those who accomplish their goals already know that they're going to attain them. They write them down like it's already a fact, and subconsciously it is. Okay, let's say you're a marketer and you want to be the CMO. Say, I am the CMO. What does the CMO do? You're going to start doing the things that a CMO does. You keep that one to yourself, by the way. Don't let your CMO know that you're trying to do that. And finally, I know a few people in my life that inherently have a bad attitude about most things. It's very hard for them to accomplish anything because they will not believe they can do anything of substance for themselves. Now, for those people, maybe reframe your thinking into, I have nothing to lose. Having a nothing to lose attitude may give you that additional edge, which could make all the difference. Okay. Take a deep breath with me for now, but halfway through this thing, I need to go through, paying the bills. By the way, this is a new ad. This is our August ad series that Robert put together. If you're watching this, or if you're listening to this, maybe find us on YouTube, This Old Marketing at YouTube, and check this one out. This is going to be funky.
I had a dream. It had microphones, a budget of zilch, and a box full of scones. We hit record, no clue what we'd say, but Joe showed up, so we made it a play. We had heart, we had brains, we had takes that were spicy. We were running on caffeine and vibes, not precisely what you call a business model. But hey, we were rebels with sponsors, a Venmo away. Then came the bills like a tragic refrain. Web hosting gear, a subscription to grain. Our dreams were intact, but the check-in was tense, so we gave in to ads with a bit of pretense. We're just paying the bills with harmonized frills. We sold just enough to keep chasing the thrills. And if you hear us pitch socks while we sing in our crop, that's the sound of the hustle. Paying the bills. Yes, paying the bills.
You don't become the world's most valuable women's sports franchise by accident. Angel City Football Club did it with a little help from HubSpot. When they started, data was housed across multiple systems. HubSpot unified their website, email marketing, and fan experience into one platform. This allowed their small team of 3 to build an entire website in just 3 days. The results? Nearly 350 new signups a week and 300% database growth in just 2 years. Visit HubSpot.com to see how HubSpot can help you grow better. Are you looking for a new podcast to evangelize? Well, let me tell you about The Sales Evangelist, hosted by Donald Kelly, and it's brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network. Each week, Donald interviews the world's best sales experts, successful sellers, sales leaders, and entrepreneurs who share their strategies to succeed in sales right now. Folks like Jeffrey Gitomer, Joe Conrad, Bob Berg, and Guy Kawasaki, just to name a few. They share actionable insights and stories that are going to encourage, challenge, and motivate you to hustle your way to a top income status. If you're someone looking to take off in your sales career and earn the income you deserve, this is the podcast for you. You can find Sales Evangelist wherever you find your favorite pods.
We're just paying the bills with harmonized frills. We sold just enough to keep chasing the thrills. And if you hear us pitch socks while we sing in our crop, that's the sound of the hustle. Paying the bills. Yes, paying the bills.
So it's hard to describe if you didn't watch that part. My favorite part is when we're singing this musical rendition here. I look like I'm about 6 foot. I really like the way that I look in this one. And Robert's a little husky and very short, and he seems to be getting shorter throughout about. So yeah, so if you get a chance, you can watch that on with and by the way, great job, Robert. I'm sure you had a lot of fun doing that. So August is musicals. And if you have a request for something you want us to cover, a musical genre in September, we'll I'm sure Robert will love to tackle that. So, all right, on we go. Talking about resetting, talking about mental health, talking about physical health. I do want to go back, talk about this idea of a mini sabbatical, if you will. And many of you know this, but in 2018, after my wife and I sold CMI, I took a full year sabbatical. There was no email, no social media for the first 30 days. Didn't, basically started writing my fiction novel at that time, The Will to Die. And I read books. I started writing the fiction stuff. I spent real time with the kids. I set personal bests in running. I fixed things around the house. Now, granted, I know a lot of people just can't do this. I mean, I'm totally blessed and very grateful for the year that I had there. But I didn't miss anything from the industry, but I gained a lot more. But you don't need a year to do this. You can actually do it in a day. You can do it in a weekend. It's really more mental than anything else. So I would recommend, can you do a no device Saturday? Can you move your to-do list to something that's handwritten? Can you make sure you go for that 90-minute outdoor walk, maybe with no earbuds or headphones? What you learn here is presence is a superpower. So you don't want anything, you don't want that phone, you don't want a device, you don't want something in between you and the relationship with the other person that you're around. And this is especially important for creators. And I'm bringing this up specifically because if you're going to make some changes to what you do and how you think, you'll need a mini sabbatical to make the break. Even if it's just one thing, almost like a gearing up day or a weekend for a specific activity. You're like, okay, I'm going to make some real changes here. So I'm going to go without my phone for Saturday and just be with my family and be grateful for all I have. And then on Monday, I'm going to do whatever, X. And that's what you end up doing every day after that. And then after a few weeks, if you look at the research, it says 9 weeks, you form that habit and you won't have to think about it anymore. And for me and my time-based eating, it was a little bit of a challenge at first. I always had to think, when can I eat? What time is it? What do I eat now? How does this work? And now it's very, very easy. I've trained my body, my mind to start requesting food at noon. And I don't really have that hunger feeling before, after 8 o'clock anymore. So really, I eat between those hours, and it really does sound weird. Even when I'm saying this, it sounds incredibly weird, like it's something out of science fiction, but it absolutely works. Now, why does this all matter for creators and marketers? Now, if you want to create, speak, lead, and build for the next 10, 20, or 30 years, you cannot ignore your foundation. You can't out-hustle burnout. You can't build a legacy from a hospital bed. And yes, I know this is a marketing podcast, but the reason why I'm talking about a lot of this and I've become so obsessed with it, and by the way, my wife will absolutely say this has become an obsession, and that's basically how I am. I get into one thing and I obsess about it for a while, but this is really going to stick for me. I've been so influenced by it lately. I'm 52 now, and my wife and I are dealing with sick family members and friends. Some of you might be going through some of this. If you're younger and you hear older people like me or middle-aged people like me talking about death and sickness all the time, and you're like, what's up with that? Well, you older people know what I'm talking about because you're around it so much. It's literally everywhere, the sickness and the death, and you're dealing with it in one way or another every day. So use that as momentum to know you want to live and be productive into your 80s, 90s, and longer. So related to your marketing and content career, you definitely can't grow your influence if your brain is foggy, if you're living in reaction mode, and you're not at your best. You're not at your prime. You're not at your peak. So you got to take care of this so you don't get that burnout. Now, the 3 ways that we can win as creators and marketers. Number 1, you get more energy to experiment and test ideas. I've got so much more energy now. It's really crazy. I don't really get tired at the end of the night. For some reason, it's just strange. 2, greater confidence to say no to the wrong clients or the wrong projects. And that means for you and internal folks, if you work for a brand, you can start saying no as well if it makes sense. You've just got a better handle on what's going on with the practice of your marketing internally. And number 3, you get this increased consistency. And you can see this on something like LinkedIn. Look at the marketers who are just killing it out there on LinkedIn. Odds are, and I know a lot of them, they are really taking care of their minds and bodies first and foremost. And they're coming up with the best product, the best content they have in their careers. And when you're healthy, you spot revenue streams other people miss, you attract better partnerships, and you recover faster from setbacks. So if you want to outlast the algorithm, if you will, you want to take care of your mind and body. Now, here are 3 common burnout traps for creators and marketers. Number 1 is the always on trap. You never shut off. You have no boundaries. You check your DMs in bed. We got to do something about that. Number 2 is this identity trap. You might tie your worth to likes and views and engagement on the social side, or really anything coming from other people that you work with, people that are not a part of your listening post team, the career building team, the life building team that you look for on a regular basis. You want to make sure you shut out all that other stuff. And then number 3 is the hamster wheel trap. You really think that volume equals value. And here we need to think differently about the impact our content makes. I just had a conversation with a content marketing manager who was really struggling. The open rates were down, social down, leads were down. I actually felt really, really bad for the situation they were in. And my first question was, all right, let's think about this. What if your content did not exist? No email newsletters, no webinars, no Instagram, no research studies, no podcast, no TikTok, no videos. And then I asked, would your customers notice? And their answer was they didn't know. And I said, great, now we can get down to really figuring out how we can impact our audience in new and amazing ways, because what we're doing is not working. So you need to be honest with yourself and your team and then make the necessary changes so that every piece of content you create helps people with their jobs or their lives in some way. And I really believe that's the only way to succeed in content marketing today. Now, here's how you go and counter those 3 things that are up against you as a creator or marketer. Number 1, set strict off hours and protect them. If you're off of content creation or marketing time, protect those like you'd protect your family. I mean, those are sacred. Number 2, you need to separate your identity from your output. You are not any of your metrics. Remember, you are something different. And hopefully you're reading that from your notebook on a regular basis. And number 3, focus on strategy, not just the publishing stuff, but the purpose. Really dive into your content tilt and your mission and make sure you are so incredibly focused on audience it hurts. Now, burnout doesn't just hit like a car crash. It really kind of sneaks up on you. So you want to really build habits now that keep it at bay. So in closing, first of all, I hope that I know this was different. Hopefully you stuck with it because you're like, this is not marketing, but I really believe that this is primary to helping you with your marketing and your content creation going forward. So here's the truth. If your content isn't working, your health might actually be the missing strategy. I know it's hard to believe, but it's true. If your marketing feels off, your mind might be overloaded. Remember, you are what you think about. You are what you consume. You are what you repeat. Today, take one step, delete that app, go for a walk, say something kind to yourself. That's the real work. And if you want more of this kind of thinking, please go to burntheplaybook.today. That's burntheplaybook.today. Pre-order, Burn the Playbook. With every order, I send you all sorts of freebies and worksheets that will help you get started with your new journey. I really believe you do 1 or 2 of these things, you can really change the world for a better. You can change your life for the better. Also, Robert and I will be back next week, finally, with the regular show. And yes, we'll both come see us at Content Entrepreneur Expo, CEX, August 24th to 26th in Cleveland. You can register at cex.events. And if you need some financial assistance, use code CEXDAY, all one word, CEXDAY, and save $200 off the regular all access registration. Until then, remember, This is your story to tell. Tell it well. We'll see you next week with a regular show. Back again. Joe and Robert doing shenanigans. This Old Marketing. Have a great week.
Hey, thanks a lot for making it this far in this week's episode, and thank you all for being a part of This Old Marketing. You can check out all the show notes of what we talked about today at thisoldmarketing.com, and it's also where you can leave us a review or a voicemail. We need those reviews and comments on whichever platform you follow us on. And if you haven't followed the podcast, please go do that and make sure you catch the latest and greatest episodes every Friday morning. We're on Apple and Spotify and all your other favorite podcatchers, of course, but we'd love it if you went over and subscribed to us on YouTube. That's right, YouTube. youtube.com/@thisoldmarketing. We'll see you again next week, folks, with another episode of This Old Marketing.